Welcome to It's a LaGreca show, and we have a very special guest because we have a very special topic for today's show, and that is somebody who is as passionate as I am about the world of the Twilight Zone, and that is Reby Hardy. Reby, how are you?
Yes, I'm great. How you doing? This is so exciting. This is
It's
our
very
niche,
exciting.
I feel like.
I could not sleep last night knowing that you and I were going to do our top 5 Twilight Zone episodes of all time.
Yeah, it brought me back to just going back and forth. I remember at one point we were going to do Twilight Zone trivia in the city, and I wish we had because we would have killed that.
We would have probably got too drunk and didn't remember where we were, but that's a story for another day. So I know that you and I kind of have a kinship when it comes to the Twilight Zone, which I think is extremely cool because you talk about a show that debuted in 1959, and here we are so many decades later still talking about a show like the Twilight Zone.
Right. I mean, I feel like it's easy to find people who know what it is. Everyone knows what it is, but to find someone who like knows the ins and outs and the little lessons from every episode and stuff like that, that's kind of rare because it is an older show. Like, who's really, unless you're watching the New Year's marathon, who's really gonna be into that?
I know, but that New Year's marathon is huge, and here we are, like with everything that's going on in the world, you could still relate some of what's going on now to a show, like I said, where that ran from 1959 to 1964, and some of those episodes are as deep and meaningful now as it was when it first aired. And you know, I want to go over, each of us are going to go over our top 5. I think you know some of my top 5. I think it's going to be interesting to see if we have some similarities.
I think something that's really true, and I remember you saying this actually a long time ago, is you can tell a lot about a person by what their favorite Twilight Zone episode is, for sure.
That's true. And then if you don't like the Twilight Zone, then that's somebody that you don't want to deal with.
Yeah, just
I always felt like somebody who doesn't like the Twilight Zone is soulless and is going to go to hell. But again, that's probably a story for another day. Now, before we dive into the top 5, if I'm with somebody who has never seen the Twilight Zone, there's 2 episodes that I always play them. And that is Eye of the Beholder and To Serve Man. I feel like those are 2 episodes that are great beginner episodes for somebody who's never seen the Twilight Zone before.
For sure. And I feel like whenever I reference it and people are like, Twilight Zone, huh? What's that? You bring up like Eye of the Beholder, even if they don't know it by title. You say, oh, you know, with the crazy pig faces, and people I always kind of like set something off in people's mind, like they remember that. So that is definitely a good starter episode to get you hooked.
All right. Now, for those who are diehard Twilight Zone fans like you and I are, let's get into our top 5. Now, I figure, Reby, since you are the guest, I will let you unveil your top 5 episodes first. Starting, and don't cheat. Don't go 1 to 5. You got to go 5 to 1.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Let's see. So 5. Gosh, I have them kind of in random order except for my favorite. But all right, 5. I would say The Howling Man.
Ooh, okay.
Might
I like
be my
that.
5. And now, you might see a trend with my favorites because they're all kind of like to do with the devil. It's not on purpose. It just happens to be like that.
Well, you know, Reby, I'm glad you brought up The Howling Man. The Howling Man, not on my top 5, but obviously an episode that I really, really love. And that's one of those episodes, too, that are scary on top of having a deep meaning, like you said, dealing with the devil.
Yeah, I feel like, too, that's got that element of like traditional, like classic Gothic horror, you know? So it's sort of that old school feel, and you're kind of on edge the whole time. And it's also got its own little meaning there at the end.
Yeah, which is you can't hold the devil. So what do you got at 4?
Keep an ear out for any howling you may encounter in your travels. All right, number 4. Gosh, I would say probably Nick of Time.
Okay.
I'm so upset because I see you have a prop here. You have the gremlin. I actually have the little machine, the little coin op thing from that episode. God, it was so much money. They get you with those collectibles, man. But I was gonna have it, but I'm not at home right now. I'm at an IHOP. But Nick of Time, I just love that one. Just the habit forming tendencies that people have. It just, I don't know, something about that speaks to me.
And it stars William Shatner, pre Star Trek. So it's pretty fascinating episode. Like you said, not only the meeting, but you have somebody that's iconic in the sci-fi world with William Shatner.
I know, looking like a baby, can barely recognize him.
Very handsome man.
All right, number 3 for me, and it was mentioned before, and I hate to be like hipster about it, but it's like the popular opinion. I would say Eye of the Beholder. Can't go without mention.
And I like that you mentioned Eye of the Beholder, because it's okay to embrace those popular episodes. A lot of times when
I feel basic, but it's a good one. It's a good one for a reason.
And it's a good starter episode because I think that nobody sees it coming. So when it actually happens, that ending really grabs you.
Yeah, for sure. All right, my next one is The Midnight Sun.
Ooh, all right. That's one out of left field. I like that one.
I think probably it's because it's so damn hot lately, and I feel like every summer I find myself referencing it. Like every summer I feel like that, like just like sitting there dying, and like your paintings are melting and you're just sweating to death, and I'm like, oh my god, this is Midnight Sun. So I'm just like, it always reminds me, and just how at the end it's that swerve where it's the complete opposite. I love that.
All right, so let me ask you, what would you prefer, the frigid cold or the melting hot?
The cold, absolutely. Forget that. No way. Okay. All right. What are we up to? Are we up to number 1 yet? I think we are. All right, number 1, and you know this. Well, let's hear it. Can you say it? I'm sure you're gonna get it.
If I were to guess your number 1, and this is, I don't know, we didn't have this discussion. I would say Obsolete Man would be your number 1.
Yes. Number 1 all time, absolute. That's followed me in work. It's followed me in wardrobe. I mean, it's followed me in so many parts of my life. The Obsolete Man has inspired so many things. That is just absolutely my all-time favorite episode.
All right, so let me ask you this. Why? What is it about the episode, though, that you gravitate to that episode more than any other?
I don't know. It's funny because it's kind of got that religious aspect to it, which is totally not me. But just the fact that they're in this like totalitarian society, which is kind of like reminiscent of stuff going on right now with like, oh my God, people talking about censorship and people talking about government having control and all this crazy stuff. It's just like, I was thinking about the episode when I was thinking about this top 5, I was like, wow, that's kind of relevant to what's going on now. But I mean, even aside from that, it's just, I feel like everyone kind of feels that, like not being good enough every now and then, and you just want what you are and what you like and who you are to be enough, and for someone to tell you like you're obsolete, like what, that's crazy. And then of course it switches at the end where the person saying that ends up being the one deemed obsolete. Who is anyone to call anyone obsolete ever? So
very meaningful episode. So let me ask you, were you introduced to the Twilight Zone? How did you become such a big fan of the Twilight Zone?
I don't know, probably skipping school and like watching TV, daytime TV. I don't even know. But how I really got into it was when we met, I feel like. And I don't even remember how we started talking about it or what, but I still have your DVD series that you let me borrow about 12 years ago.
That DVD series are, well, don't worry.
That's what set it off though. Because every night.
But you know what? I don't know if you remember this, because you and I had a huge fight one day, and you bought me a miniature dummy from
Tina, was it?
Yeah. You bought me like the miniature dummy episode. I don't know where you bought it.
Oh, I thought it was a Talkie Tina. Yes, okay,
no.
I did. Yes.
Yes, and you actually threw it at me, like kind of like an FU, but like it's something I still have and is near and dear to my heart. But yeah, like it's amazing that you and I are from completely different worlds, and we still fell in love with this TV series, and it kind of solidified our friendship. So let me give you my top five, and I definitely want your critique, because my number five is a bit of a controversial one because it's from the fourth season, which was the hour-long episodes which is a lot of people aren't really into, but it's called On Thursday We Leave for Home, and it was, from the fourth season, written by Rod Serling, starring James Whitmore, which a lot of people remember from Shawshank Redemption. And I think it's not only the story and the real sad, depressing ending to the episode where, somebody who was like a leader of a community finds himself completely alone at the end of the episode. And it's so well acted. And it's the acting that really draws me to that episode. So that's my number five.
I like that. I feel like that's one of those episodes that like it has a clear ending, but it's sort of open-ended at the same time. So, I mean, it's like open to interpretation, and I don't know, that really draws you in. So I can see how that's one of your faves.
Now, at number four, I have In Praise of Pip, which is from season number 5, starring Jack Klugman and Billy Mooney, which is a great episode as well. Again, written by Rod Serling. And Jack Klugman is one of the two guys that I think a lot of people think of when they think of the Twilight Zone. And Jack, I honestly think it's one of Jack Klugman's best acting performances in general, not even just the Twilight Zone.
Nice. You're getting me on these later seasons, man.
I know.
I feel like I'm a bigger fan of like the older ones, but I totally feel you there.
It mix it in, because at number 3, I have another Jack Klugman episode, and this is from the 3rd season. It's the only episode on my top 5 that's not written by Rod Serling. It's by George Clayton Johnson, and that's a game of pool with Jonathan Winters and Jack Klugman. And really the only role from Jonathan Winters that I know of that's not a comedic episode of any sort. And a game of pool, to this day, my brother and I still quote this episode. It's one of my favorite episodes. And actually, the reason I play pool is because I pretend I'm Jack Klugman from a game of pool.
Nice. Cool. Oh my God. All right. Number 2. All
right. Number 2, Reby. Now, this is where it kind of falls into what you were saying before. Your number 2 was Eye of the Beholder, which is a very popular episode. My number 2 is Time Enough at Last with Burgess Meredith. And that's probably the actor that most people remember when they think of the Twilight Zone. And you talk about an ending that's like a punch to the gut and a punch to the face. Time Enough at Last is that episode that has that just amazing ending that blindsides you, but also depresses the hell out of you when you see it.
Yeah, it like makes you mad. It like, it irritates me. Like I legit I get hot. Like I'm like, what the hell? That would happen to me.
And that's why I always have a second pair of glasses nearby, because if there is ever a nuclear holocaust and I break my glasses, there'll be another pair of glasses. Exactly. Exactly. All right. So let me throw this back at you. Could you guess my number 1 episode?
Now, it was driving me crazy. I feel like it has something to do with aviation. Am I right? Or a plane? Some sort of transportation?
Don't think too hard. But my number 1 is the same as your number 1, and that's Obsolete Man.
Are you serious?
I've told you this before. Now, I remember telling you I was really, really drunk, and you probably were too. And I could have sworn we were sitting next to a gutter, and we're about 18 bottles in. But yes, I told you, Obsolete Man is my number 1. So just to recap, so Obsolete Man, my number 1.
Rebecca and LaGreca, we're one and the same.
So, and if you can, Reby, just to recap, what were your top 5 episodes again?
Okay, top 5: Howling Man, Nick of Time, Eye of the Beholder, Midnight Sun, and Obsolete Man.
Okay, and my 5 were On Thursday We Leave for Home, In Praise of Pip, A Game of Pool, Time Enough at Last, and Obsolete Man. It's weird that we had no similarities until our number 1. And honestly, Reby, I think if you polled 100 Twilight Zone fans, I think we might be the only 2 that would put Obsolete Man at 1.
That is so random. I swear I thought yours for some reason was like Odyssey at 33,000 feet. I don't know why. For some reason I felt
And you figure since
or
I have the
something with a
Gremlin with
plane.
me, it might be Nightmare
There
at
you
20,000. Yeah, but like, it's
Yeah.
obsolete, man. Reby, we will always have the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Oh. I love it. I love it.
Well, again, if you liked our episode, like, subscribe, make sure you tell your friends about it. And Reby, thank you so much for being the guest right here on It's a LaGreca Show.
Thank you. I loved it. It was good reminiscing about one of our favorite things.